Good afternoon. Welcome to this live chat. My name is Francine Chirambo, your relationship coach, and I'm excited to be here this afternoon. Let's get started, and I have a few questions. So we'll be looking at, I have two questions on sex in marriage. And then I have somebody needing advice and is looking for a guide on how to find the right person for them and spending time together. Okay, so that's what I'll be looking at today. How has been your week? I've had a wonderful time, fantastic time. Hi, Mwene, nice to have you. I'm just coming from Bible study, feeling excited, and you know just how it is when you've been in the presence of God, and I feel so motivated, and I would like to motivate somebody out there today. Hi, welcome. So I'll start with this question that I have received. Feel free as you listen, if you have any questions, please feel free to just write it in the comments. And if you need to contribute to something, feel free to just put it in the comments. My first question today is coming from a husband. Okay, so I'm not going to disclose who has written, but I'm going to read it out to you. It says, "We have two cars, but lately my wife is insisting that we use one car. I find this to be very inconveniencing. What's your advice?" Okay, so we have a husband who wants to know what he can do. I'll switch off this because the music is now down. Just reduce the volume as well. So yes, so this husband is saying they have two cars as a family, and watching from South Africa, Polokwane, that's nice to have you. Welcome. So watching from Zimbabwe, hi Cynthia, I'm excited to have you. They have two cars, and he is asking, he wants some advice on what they can do because his wife lately has been insisting that they use one car. So they drive in separate cars from what he is saying. Firstly, I would like to find out what your wife's reason is for requesting that you drive in one car when you both have a car. You know, there are a number of reasons why she would do that, but first I want to just find out a few things from you. Firstly, find out from her why she has asked for you to drive in one car. What I noted here is that I wanted to find out from you whether you are working in the same place, or are you working at least in, are your offices close to each other, or are you driving in the same direction? Okay, so if you're driving in the same direction, it can make sense that you use one car. Okay, and if your offices are also close to each other, which makes it, you know, driving into one direction, it's going to make a lot of sense for you. So you can use one car, but it can be a little bit inconveniencing sometimes. So if you use one car and you're driving in one direction or you're close to each other, it's going to save you a lot of fuel. So you will save up on that. But if that's not the case, for instance, if you are driving to Pretoria North and she is driving to Pretoria West, it's not going to make sense. It's going to be quite inconveniencing. When you use one car, one of you could be stuck in a meeting and the other one is going to be inconvenienced. So I would say that if you're going to use one car, you must know how you are going to work it out, whether you are going to be comfortable with your spouse picking you at 7 p.m. when he or she should have picked you up at least at 5 p.m. So it's a bit inconveniencing actually if you're going to use one car. So with that said, if you're going to drive in different directions, it's just not going to work. It's going to be very inconveniencing. One thing I would like you to note is that your wife might be crying for attention. It's not so much about you driving in one car. How much time are you giving to her? So she may want to suggest today that you drive in the same car because she feels that's the only time that you're going to spend time together. So if both of you are comfortable that you use one car and time is not a problem, what time you're picked up is not a problem, that's perfectly fine. It will be inconveniencing in the long run. But I just want to note that your wife might be crying for attention, so you must pay attention to this. I want to know also if it's not a matter of her wanting to make sure that you are getting home on time. You know, what happens sometimes is that some spouses don't get home early enough, so they decide to come back whatever time they want to come back, and they'll say, okay, I was working or I had to do this and that. So the wife might be feeling here that, okay, if we drive in the same car, then I'll make sure that he gets home on time. So you have no choice but to ride with her, and it could be a problem. I mean, that could be the reason she's suggesting. So I would still say, first, just find out from her why she would like you to drive together. There's nothing wrong with you guys driving together. There was a time when my husband and I worked in the same place. We worked in the same organization. So there was really no need for us to use two different cars. We used one car, so we drove together in the morning and drove back together in the evening. Made a lot of sense, perfect sense. But if you're driving in different directions, it's not going to make sense. But it might be a way of her getting your attention or wanting you to focus on her a little bit more. So that is something that you must look into. Okay. I always see couples driving together. Hi, Irene. Nice to have you. Just let us know where you're watching from. Yes, so I've just responded to one question regarding driving together from work. It can be an intimate time for you as a couple if you're going to drive together. Some couples fight a lot, so when they are driving, it doesn't even help. Some people will always joke about seeing couples driving together and one person is facing the other side and the other is facing the other side. That's what they say about us couples, but it's not true. There are times when you just enjoy being in the company of your spouse and you just want to drive with them. So it's also a good thing to do, but it depends on how convenient it's going to be at the end of the day. Okay, so I'm going to get on to talk about sex in marriage. I have two questions that I have received here. And this person says, I'm married and we have a good relationship. The problem is that my husband is too sexually active. Okay, so this lady is talking about her husband being too sexually active. I want to let you know that it is very normal for your husband to be this sexually active, and count it a blessing, because in some relationships you find that the husband is actually struggling to be sexually active. So if you have a husband who's this sexually active, count yourself blessed. Okay, so just something that I want to find out from you. I just want to understand your complaint here. Are you overwhelmed, or are you just feeling too busy to accommodate him? That's something that I would like to know. Because if somebody is just being sexually active, then that's good. That's fine for a relationship. You must understand that some men will struggle as they age when it comes to sex. So depending on where your husband is in life, he might be at his peak. So that is why he is experiencing that. So depending on what you're going through in life, you will find yourself to be either active, or your sex drive is just going to go low. Okay, so if you're having trouble, for instance, with finances, or in the office, or for any reason, or any other reason that you may have, you will find that your sex drive is just going to go down. But sometimes it goes with the age. There's a time when somebody is very active, and there's a time when they are very low. So in this case, you have somebody who is complaining about the husband who is too sexually active. Find out from him if he's taking any boosters, okay? Because right now the market is flooded with boosters, with sexual boosters. That's what I mean. And I always say, if you don't have any challenges sexually, stay away from the boosters, okay? They're going to damage you. If you have a problem, seek advice from a doctor, a medical doctor, not just these adverts that we are seeing on the streets, because they are going to just disturb your how your body functions. So if you're having a sexual problem, see a medical doctor, let them prescribe something. There's always a solution to this. So what we are seeing is that people are getting off to buy anything that is on the market. A friend will recommend something and they just buy it. Everything is just thrown on the market, and people are just buying things that are causing them to get out of control. So if this is the case, he's on boosters, just request him to slow down, let him be, let him have a natural sex drive. Unless he's struggling, then you can talk to a doctor about that. And then something else I wanted to talk about here is me now, but I have to decline. I'm going to have to speak to this person much later. Somebody's actually making a Facebook call. I can't respond to this one. Okay, something slipped my mind. I'm talking about this person. Yes, I was talking about, let me just see what the question was again. Yes, this lady thinks this man is too sexually active. So you don't need to push him away if he is that sexually active. You have to create time, and you need to see how you are going to accommodate him. Remember, you are a wife, and I always say sex is a need, and we have to accommodate each other as spouses at the end of the day. So I would like to know what is really bothering you, what your complaint really is on this one, because him just being sexually active doesn't say much unless it is something that is bothering you and you are not coping. So if you're not coping, just let me know what it is exactly so that we can assist you. Hi, Martina from Pretoria. Thanks for joining us. So the next one that I have here is another question on, I'll get this one. It says, we only have sex once at night. This is again coming from a wife. We only have sex once a night. Are we not supposed to have some rounds at least? Okay, so I'm sure you've heard those kind of questions where somebody has heard her friends whisper to them that, okay, we are having sex so many times in a night. So you begin to wonder whether you are in a normal relationship or not, and you begin to question yourself whether you are actually having enough sex. I always say sex is not quantitative, it is qualitative. Okay, so it's not about how many times you're going to have sex in a day or in a night, but it's simply the quality of it. Okay, so you can have sex 10 times in a night and still not be satisfied. What is important is that it is quality, it is of quality, and that you enjoy it, and you are fully satisfied. That is what should be important. So don't worry about how many times it's going to occur. Okay. So it's funny that somebody will complain that they're only having sex once a night. I have questions where somebody will say they actually having too much sex in the night or wherever throughout the day, and you just don't know what people want to do. My advice is that you need to understand each other as a couple, and then understand your bodies. What do you want? What is your need? Okay, so you're not going to be the same. Like I explained earlier, you're not going to be the same. You will respond differently at different times. So one of you might be at their peak and the other one might be really low, and then, vice versa. So it can happen at different times, or it could happen at the same time. So if it happens at the same time, it's easy. Nobody's going to complain. But if it happens at a time when you are too busy or you are just not up to it, it's going to be a problem. That is why I'm getting these kind of questions. So please remember, it is not for this lady that is asking, that is talking about the husband not requesting for more or not having sex a lot of times in the night. It shouldn't bother you. It's about quality and it's not about quantity. So don't count how many times. Just make sure you are fully satisfied. That is what you should really look at. Okay, and then also just remember that foreplay in the whole scenario is very important. Take time for that and it's going to assist you. So you will stop counting eventually. Okay. And then I have my last question that I will take this afternoon. If you have any questions and you're watching, let me know what that question is. So this person says, this one is on somebody looking for Mr. Right. It says, I'm single, dedicated Christian, never married, and finding it so hard to find the right man. I have been in a couple of relationships and they just don't work. Okay, so I've seen this question come through a number of times, and what I can say is that looking or searching for a spouse would be tricky for anybody, whether you're a child of God or you're not a child of God, whether you're going to church or you're not going to church. It's going to be tricky because right in the church, we have people that are really not genuine. We have people that are coming to church, but their heart is really misplaced. So that is why we have a problem in church. You're thinking you're going to church and you're going to find somebody who is really sold out to God, somebody that just loves God with their heart. But unfortunately, as you go on into this relationship, you realize that, look, this is really not for me. So, or you find that they are dating more than one person, and it breaks your heart. So it's quite tricky. It's not about whether somebody is coming to church with you or not. That is something that I wanted to just tell you. What I can advise you is that firstly, you have a conversation with God. I always refer you back to God. I always say, let's talk to God about whatever situation is confronting us. So get to God and tell God about how you're feeling, and tell him you're having trouble finding the right person. What happens is that when we commit to God whatever we want to do, he opens up our eyes, and we begin to see things that our physical eye cannot see. So what happens is that even before you get so far in this relationship, your eyes are going to be open. You will be able to see the kind of character you're dealing with. That's how God works. So don't brush it aside. Just find time to, just find time to be with God, and just let him know what you need and that he gives you wisdom. So I also say that God doesn't choose partners for us. He gives us wisdom. Okay. So don't just sit there and say, I'm going to wait for God. I'm waiting on God to give me a partner. He's not going to do that. He's going to give you the wisdom. Okay. That's why even the word would tell us that he who finds a wife. So it's about finding, and it's about finding for the man, and it's about being found for the woman. So what we do during this time also matters. So that was the first thing that you can do. Speak to God, have a conversation with God, so your eyes can be opened. And every time you're approached by somebody, you'll be able to spot whether this is what you're looking for or not. Secondly, don't look at the outward appearance. Outward appearance will always deceive you. Okay, I always say go for the heart. Find out what this person is like. Get to appreciate this person and just know them. If you're going to look at their outward appearance, you're going to have a lot more trouble, because then what happens when what you are seeing today disappears? So today somebody might have some hair on them, and then tomorrow they are bald. What's going to happen? So that is something that you must do. Speak to God, and then look at their heart. Okay. And then ask yourself questions like, what am I really looking for in a husband? So what I was looking for might not be what you are looking for. So just find out what you want. What is it that you would want from a husband? Then you begin to look at the different traits that are presented to you. And then when you're looking at these attributes, also bear in mind that you're not going to find a perfect person. Okay, you are not perfect, and you're not expecting another person to be perfect. So you're not going to find somebody that is 100% what you're looking for. So just bear that in mind. Ask yourself questions like, does this person love God? Okay, so we have a lot of people, like I said, in the church that they are churchgoers. They have no relationship with God. Okay, so those are things that you have to look at. Does this person love God? And then also just find out, try to examine whether this person loves himself. Okay, there is a difference between self-love and love of self. Self-love is just really loving yourself and appreciating yourself, and you respect yourself. And then love of self has to do with selfishness. So you don't want anybody that is selfish. Okay, and you don't want to have somebody that doesn't even love themselves. So for somebody to be able to love you, they have to love themselves first. So those are pointers that you should look at. And then does this person accept you as you are? You don't have to do things in a certain way to be accepted. Somebody must just accept you. Okay, of course, we also can't just say, take me as I am. Okay, we need to change in certain instances. But does this person accept your background? Does this person accept the kind of job that you do? Does this person accept that you have a child, for instance, in cases where you've got a child, or maybe you were in a previous relationship and you ended up having a child? Does this person accept all that? So look out for that one. If this person has conditions, then it's going to be a problem for you in future. And then ask yourself whether this is the kind of person you would like to submit under. This is very important. Okay, so when you are dating, you're just interested in getting married and being called Mrs. So and so. But when you look at this man that you're dating, is this the kind of man that you would like to be your leader? Because at the end of the day, I'll still come back and tell you that your husband is your head and he's your leader, and you have to be in submission. So if you can already see that you can't submit to this person, if you can already see that this person is actually a fool, just leave it. Okay. And ask yourself this question: does this person respect himself? Okay, does he respect others? How does he treat his family? How does he treat his parents? That is going to give you some insight into what this person is about. So if this person can't respect himself, do you really think he would respect you? Just the other day, I was speaking to one lady. She has divorced. She's currently divorced. And she was telling me, I was trying to find out what really led to the divorce. What was it? Couldn't they have sought counsel or anything like that? So she said, no, this guy was very abusive, and he used to insult her. He disrespected her. And I asked her whether she had seen those things before she got married. And she actually said, yes, those traits were there. He had disrespected her when they were dating. So don't ever think that if he is not respecting you today, he will respect you when you get married. Just know that is what you're going to be in for. Otherwise, it's going to be a painful relationship. He might change in the future, but it's going to be a problem for you. So look out for that. See whether this person respects himself and is able to respect people around him. That will help you. And then, is his love conditional? Okay, this is something that we should all talk about in relationships. Okay, love should be unconditional. Every time I pray, I always say, God, give me a heart like yours. Okay, because I know that God's love for me is unconditional. So every time that I pray, I say, God, give me a heart like yours. A heart that is merciful, a heart that is full of love, a heart that is full of compassion. That is my prayer each day. So that kind of love is really great. And you have that kind of love in a relationship, you're going to go a long way. So just check this out. Find out whether his love is conditional. Does he love you only when you do something? So does he say, I will love you if da 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 da? Okay, so that is something that you must look at. It must never be conditional. So the list is endless, but these few pointers should be really get you started. Yeah, these pointers should get you started on what you should be looking out for. I'm sure next time I've seen one question in my inbox. It came from a man asking about finding a woman. So I'm sure I'll be able to respond next week for the men, so that they can also be aware of one or two things that they can look out for. Okay, so in any relationship, don't be too hard on yourself. Okay, and don't be too hard on your partner. Don't be too hard on your spouse. Take life easy. Take one day at a time. And for any relationship to work, you have to submit it to God. If you are not praying for your relationship, who is? Okay, so one of you must really make time to pray for the relationship. Actually, both of you must take time to pray for a relationship. It's very important. Okay, and yesterday I actually posted on my page, and I said, can I open that one? I think I can open that one. It talks about where 2 or 3 are gathered, in his name, he is there. But it also talks about a prayer of agreement. So if 2 of you here on earth agree about something, it's going to be, it's going to be done by my Father. That's what Jesus said. So what I'm trying to say here is that get to pray, get to pray. As a couple, especially if you're a married couple, you are actually so blessed to have a spouse, to have a prayer partner. You don't have to phone anybody to pray with you, but your God-given husband or wife is right there for you, so you can pray together all the time. It doesn't matter what it is that you have to pray for. I have learned that praying about anything and everything is really helpful. Okay, so the Holy Spirit is constantly with you, and just get to talk to him the way you can talk to your spouse. He will respond and he will direct you. So just a reminder for you as a spouse to pray. If your spouse doesn't want to pray, it's fine. Get to pray. Somebody must pray for your relationship. So that's all that I had for today. Just a recap, if you just joined us, I was talking about a husband. I was talking about a husband that was asking for advice on whether they should use the same car when they drive to work. My response to that is it depends on where you are going and how close from each other. It depends on the locations of your offices. Basically, that's it. So if you're going in one direction, yes, it will be fine. It will be perfect. It's going to save you time. But if you are going in separate, different opposite directions, it's not going to work. So it's going to be very inconveniencing. But if you can avoid that. If you can manage, you can both use, your own cars. That was it. And I was just also alerting this man that perhaps the wife is crying for attention, and he must pay. He must look into that. Maybe he is not giving her enough time, so he must slow down and just give her the time that she is asking for. And then the other questions that I tackled were on marriage, a husband who is too sexually active. And I said, I don't see anything wrong with that. It's perfectly normal, but he must not drink boosters if that is the case. Okay, so the market is flooded with sexual boosters, and I always say people must keep away from that. If you're not sick, you don't need medicine. So if you are sexually active, you don't need boosters. Let it go. Okay. And then the other question again was on somebody that was talking about having sex once a night, and they would maybe appreciate to have it a little bit more than once. And I was saying sex is supposed to be qualitative, not quantitative. So it is not how many times you're going to make love in a night or in a day, okay, but it is the quality, okay, that you're going to get out of it. And then lastly, I was looking at somebody that wanted to find the right partner, the right man, and I was giving guidance on that. I hope you have enjoyed. I hope you have learned something. Please join me again. I am also on YouTube. There are a number of videos on YouTube that I have not uploaded here on Facebook, so feel free to subscribe to my channel on YouTube. I have a few tips there as well. And I'll be back next week, same time from 3 p.m. Yes, and depending on the number of questions, I might stay until 4. But for now, this is all that I had. Let's talk some loving. Thank you so much. Bye.